Welcome to this video on an overview of IELTS academic writing. If you've seen the IELTS overview video, then you know that the writing section is different on the academic and general training test. So this video specifically covers IELTS academic writing. The writing section is 60 minutes long, and there are two tasks that you need to respond to. Task 1 asks you to write in at least 150 words a description of information that's given in some kind of visual chart. This task is worth 34% of your overall writing score. Task 2 is kind of more like a traditional academic essay that asks you to present your point of view, an argument, or an opinion on a given prompt in at least 250 words. And this is worth 66% of your overall score. So the recommendation is that you spend 20 minutes writing task 1 and 40 minutes writing task 2, since it is worth more. In both task 1 and task 2, there are really 4 areas that you're being assessed on. The first, task achievement, is how well you're actually responding to the prompt that you're given, what you're asked to do, and whether you've met the minimum words required. Coherence and cohesion refers to how well you're linking the information and ideas and how you use language to link those information ideas between paragraphs, but also within a paragraph. Lexical resources refers to the range of vocabulary that you're using, how appropriate it is for that specific task. Grammatical range and accuracy is looking at not just how accurately you're using grammar, but the range that you show through the writing. So there are more detailed performance descriptors that IELTS examiners use when they're reading the different tasks and assessing them. And so those descriptors are used, but these are the 4 areas that they're looking at. Here's an example of one of the writing task 1 prompts. You'll always have some kind of visual. And so here you see a cinema attendance by age chart, and you have a title, the recommendation, a reminder of how much time you should spend on this task. And then there's a summary sentence. This graph gives information about cinema attendance in Australia between 1990 and the present, with projections to 2010. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. So it kind of ends with this prompt and tells you what you're supposed to do. And then a reminder, write at least 150 words. So you might be asked to describe and explain data or describe the stages of a process or how something works. Let's take a look at some of the other kinds of charts that you might see. You could be presented with a bar chart, which often compares 2 or more similar data points at a given time. So here you'll express comparison. Or you might be given a line chart that allows you to visualize the value of something over time. Or pie chart that shows parts or percentages of a whole. And so here you'll need to know how to express quantity. You could also be given a diagram like this that shows brick manufacturing and the process of how it's done. You'll notice that if there's any key words that you need to know in order to understand the image, then those terms will be defined. And so you see at the bottom, clay is defined for you. So some advice for writing task 1, highlight the keywords in the prompt so you know what to focus on. Are you being asked to compare the differences? Are you being asked to explain the main trends? You need to make sure that you're paying attention to what you're being asked to do so that you don't get sidetracked on something else. 150 words is the minimum. Make sure you write at least this amount, but don't waste time counting them. What I suggest that you do is find through the IELTS.org site. If you look at the About the Test section, you can find sample answer sheets and practice writing on that so that you can see what 150 words looks like in your handwriting. If you're taking the computer delivered test, there is a word count on there for you. Timing is essential. Don't go over 20 minutes on this task. It's not worth as much and you're not required to write as much. Do not use bullet points, headings, or any incomplete sentences. You should use paragraphing. Don't interpret the data. So we're not looking for your personal opinion or what you think about the data. You're simply summarizing that data as the prompt suggests that you do. As you prepare, you want to practice speaking about the different kinds of charts that you might see. And there's some examples of responses at IELTS.org/sample tests. And here you can see examples of test takers task 1 and task 2 writings. And in addition to looking at that, you'll also see some examiner comments. And so these examiner comments will give you the band score that writing earned and some information on how that student did in those 4 areas. So I think this is very helpful in learning from some of these examples. So find what your goal is, what your band goal is, and take a look at those samples. So now let's talk about task 2. Just a reminder, task 2, you're presenting your point of view or giving an argument or your opinion about a particular topic, and you're doing this in at least 250 words. The rubric is the same. The only difference is task response, and here it's just your ability to formulate and develop your position in at least 250 words. Again, examiners who are assessing, they have even more detailed descriptors, and so those descriptors show at every band what you're able to do. And it's not about, oh, you made a mistake, you're going down. It's not that at all. The way that examiners use these descriptors is, what do you show you're able to do? It's fine to make mistakes, but do you show that you have control over complex sentences, for example? That's how the band score is determined. Let's take a look at task 2. You'll have a title, a recommendation on how much time you should spend on the task, and then a prompt. And you always have a prompt and then this question here. So, children who are brought up in families that do not have large amounts of money are better prepared to deal with the problems of adult life than children brought up by wealthy parents. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this opinion? Give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. Write at least 250 words. So here you want to make sure that you're reading the task carefully and providing a full and relevant response. So if the topic is about a particular aspect of computers, for example, you don't want to just talk in general about computers. So make sure that you are responding to the task. So here, what you need to be arguing is, do children who are brought up in families that do not have large amounts of money better prepared? So are children who are brought up in families that do not have large amounts of money better prepared to deal with the problems of adult life than children brought up by wealthy parents, right? Yes or no. So you decide on a course and then stick with that in your essay. The essay is you might think of this as a 5-paragraph essay, sometimes it's called, on an introduction, and that introduction should state the topic and should also give your thesis statement, right? The sentence that says what perspective you're going to be writing about, what your opinion is about this topic. And then in the body paragraphs, you might have 2 or you might have 3 if you're a quick writer. If you're more advanced, then you might have time to write 3. If not, then you're looking at 2 body paragraphs. Each body paragraph should have its own focus, and you want to begin the body paragraph. Those are the paragraphs after the first introduction paragraph. Begin them with a sentence that gives the main idea of that paragraph, and then support that main idea with examples. The conclusion might just be a couple of sentences at the end where you give a summary of your main view, restate what your opinion is. So in total, we're looking at 4 or 5 paragraphs depending on how advanced you are. It's important in the conclusion in your last few sentences not to contradict yourself. So some students go wrong here where maybe they've been arguing a particular perspective the whole essay, and then at the end they reverse it and say, well, maybe the other side is also correct. Don't do that. Stick with the opinion that you have throughout the essay. So advice for the writing test: good timing is really important. So you want to make sure that you spend 20 minutes on task 1 and then give yourself 40 minutes for task 2. Spend time planning before you write. This is very important so that you don't get lost in your thoughts and then not develop all of the ideas. So just a rough guide to timing might be 5 minutes to prepare, 30 minutes to write, and then 5 minutes to check your essay in to make sure that your grammar is correct, that you've spelled words correctly, etc. And then as you prepare, build your vocabulary through reading. You need vocabulary for really every aspect of this test. And the more you read, the more that you will learn in terms of words, but also how to structure your own writing. Learn what mistakes you make most often and learn how to fix those mistakes. You might make a lot of mistakes, but there's usually 2 or 3 recurring mistakes that you make. Maybe it's subject verb agreement. You want to be able to identify what those mistakes are, especially the ones that impede meaning, so the ones that get in the way from you getting your message across. And you want to have a strategy for locating them quickly and fixing them. And then consider taking the official IELTS practice test, which is called IELTS Progress Check. This is an official IELTS practice test. It covers all 4 skills and includes a recorded speaking section. But what's great about it is that you'll get feedback on your writing from an IELTS trained marker. And so this will really help you to identify what you need to improve on. And you'll get an indicative band score. So a band score that tells you what you'll probably get on the IELTS test. It's around $45, so it's really a good investment to see where you're at as you're preparing, and then you can figure out how to focus your energy on improving your proficiency and your test taking strategies for IELTS tests. Also, check out our IELTS Prep for Test Takers site and reach out to us by email if you have any questions. Happy writing.